Hi, my name is Stuart Burns. I'm an independent vExpert. In this short introduction to Embotics, we're going to look at managing infrastructure access with Embotics vCommander, as well as the why and the how. So, first off, let's define the problem. The problem is that management access cannot exist within a bubble. What do we mean by this? Basically, large environments, by their very nature, have to have many staff performing many different roles. Whilst that in itself is an issue, when improperly managed it can become a security issue. People leave or go to new jobs, and suddenly all these dormant accounts become a security issue that should be addressed. And if your decommissioning process doesn't cope with that, that doesn't help either. Secondly, over time, this unmanaged sprawl becomes an issue in day-to-day management. Trying to find that right account to do that change can become a bit problematic. So server owners also require a degree of control. They like to be able to self-serve and to create snapshots and to perform power operations, because after all they are paying for these machines. Lastly, managing access across several platforms becomes problematic, because if you're trying to add users to Azure, to AWS, to other cloud providers, you've got to find some way of managing all that, presenting a unified interface. So the partial solution, keep it simple. So any administrator worth their salt will know that user management with groups becomes much easier. You create the role, assign a group to the role, and then adding and removing users becomes much easier, although not foolproof. And also, when using service accounts, make sure they're well documented and defined. For example, you might want to prefix your service account with something like SVC to immediately recognise that it's a service account. Also, the non-fun bit is periodically, at least yearly, someone needs to review those individual accounts with access and make sure that they are still in use, that they are still relevant, and that security is still as it should be. And lastly, you need to review access granted to those groups and users. So you need to check frequently that those roles are as they should be and they're not being modified. And there are tools that will do this for you, but it's up to you how you actually perform that operation. Great, okay, so that's some way we can deal with it, but it still leaves the issue of delivering the VM management to the owner / end user. So how do we give the correct rights to the user and still keep a good degree of control over the infrastructure and the management of the infrastructure? And also you need to be able to give the user management to do these operations such as snapshots and reboots as needed, bearing in mind that they will need to have it change controlled and done in a business aware fashion. So how does Embotics help us with this issue? Well, firstly, Embotics serves to separate the users from the infrastructure, so you don't need to worry about adding users directly into Azure or AWS or another cloud provider, and that makes the security simpler to use and therefore less problematic further down the road. And also, the user also has a simple user interface that, whilst looking simple, is actually quite powerful, and it can be used to not only do things like create snapshots, delete snapshots, power operations, remote control, but the great thing is that this one interface works across all the providers. So in the back end you might have Azure, or you might have AWS, or you might have vSphere. It really doesn't matter, because the user just sees the interface, and from that interface they can not only request machines and manage machines and the lifecycle of machines, but it's absolutely transparent as to where that sits. It's a really easy user win, and as I've pointed out just previously, there's little administration to do on the infrastructure side. The users just literally get to log in, see their VMs, and they can manage them from there. Or alternatively, people who they have given access to be able to do from the portal itself. So this is the vCommander management interface. This is what the vCommander super user will see, and where users can be managed and assigned, as well as automation, reporting and allocation. So let's have a look at how we go about managing the users and groups. We've already configured the AD backend in this example just to save time. But if we go to configuration and to users and roles, we can see that we have three tabs. We've got the organizations, users, and the service portal roles. We'll come back to users in a minute, but for now let's look at the service portal roles. What this does is it allows the administrator to manage the roles within vCommander. So for example, we have the customer role and the manager role, as well as delegated admin view only. And what makes this interesting is that by default, out the box, the vCommander user doesn't have rights to manage their snapshots on their VMs. So if you're feeling generous and brave as an administrator, you might want to actually allow them to manage their own snapshots. So if we were to scroll down, we can see that down here we've got the advanced columns, and here we can manage snapshots. It's simply a tick in the box and save. That's all there is to it. So let's say we do want to actually allow the customers to manage snapshots on a machine. Put a tick in the box and we'll click save and just confirm that change. It is really easy to add new roles just literally by clicking the add new roles. But for now, let's get some customers and some admins into the actual system. So in this users tab, we're going to assign users and groups to roles. We're going to use it for the portal roles, but there are other roles within the infrastructure that can be assigned. So I've created two groups, vCommander users and vCommander managers, who are portal users and managers. So let's go ahead and add those in. It's really easy to add them in because they already exist in AD, and vCommander is AD aware. It identifies them as a directory group, and the role we're going to give them is a service portal role, and it's that of manager. I click add on that and repeat the same for the users. Notice in this one we're going to give them a customer role, so click add, and now we have both added in there. So from now on it becomes easy. If you have a new user whom you want to be able to request VMs, you can literally add them to the vCommander users group, and likewise if you want a manager, you can add them to the managers group, and the rights will filter through into the portal. It makes life very easy. So enough chat, let's have a look at the portal. So this is the portal with Karen logged in, and as you can see she has lots of information about her VM, about the IP address, DNS, etc. But what's really interesting and really useful from the administrative point of view is that she also has these buttons up here that allow her to do several various things. So without having to log into the cloud platform of choice, she can go in and she can perform a reset operation, a shutdown operation, power off, etc. She can open the consoles in RDP, VNC, etc. and also the actions. Now this is where it can be very, very useful. Remember before that we said we would give our users access to create snapshots? Well, there we go, we can create and manage snapshots as we wish. So I can go in here and I can say create a new snapshot and call it pre-configuration. Click OK. If we swap over to the web client, we can see that it's creating a snapshot for us, and that's completed. So I hope you're getting the idea that this takes the administrative load off the administrator. For example, if a middleware admin wanted to upgrade their infrastructure, they could do it without actually having the administrator have to do things like snapshots, power on, power off for operations. It's all there for her to consume. So let's now look at how we can control what users can request and have delivered in terms of services. We're back in Karen's portal, and say Karen wanted to have a new virtual machine. Literally all she has to do is go to request new service and select our example service, which is a Windows machine. Click the add, and optionally put in a comment So let's put in please approve for important project. Click next and finally submit. Now within a minute or two we should see, if we look in Brian's inbox, we should have a request for that service. Yep, there we go. So if we open it up, we can see that we have this approval required, and Karen has requested it, and the breakdown of costs. So we can now authorize this or disapprove it by clicking on the link, and we can say yes, no problem, and then just approve it, or conversely we could just reject it if we wanted to. And in the background we should hopefully see, and we can see that this machine is being built now. The important thing to note though is that all these things that Karen is doing and Brian's approving, they're all done not through direct access to the vCenter. The rights are actually given by the service account that we use to integrate vCommander with our clouds or on-premises. For example, if we look at the rights that I've given to my users here, we can see that my service account for VMware, which is one I specifically created for vCommander, does all the interactions between the portal, the users and the vCenter. So we're not having to add in users or give users direct access to anything within the portal. I hope this short video has been useful. If you want to contact me or have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at newlyminted.media, or if you want to talk to Embotics about their great product, you can tweet them at Embotics Corp.